communities, but for the most part, 2.3 billion when you have $9 billion worth of need is kind of a drop in the bucket, and it's also very limited in that it's pretty much focused on CDOT. So think of it as the backup plan. And why do I call it the backup plan? Because we knew, based on some challenges that we faced last year with a bill that really was a really good bipartisan comprehensive plan where all of the state came together and said, here is a solution. It was House Bill 1242, and we really saw people from all over the state come forward and support that bill. That bill did not make it out of committee, and it died. And as a result, this year we were looking at, once again, a plan as it was originally crafted that was going to fail. It was not going to be moving us forward. It was not going to be making any transportation investments. And so because 1242 died last year, we knew that the business community was going to go ahead and move forward without the legislature, which they should. They decided that if you all can take care of it, we're going to take care of it. And so there was an effort underway to go to the ballot this fall. To pretty much resurrect that conversation that we started with 1242 and carry it forward. Knowing that that is in the works, it was really important that we didn't mess it up at the legislature, and so that's why I characterize Senate Bill 1 as the backup plan. Is if something were not to be successful this fall, then a good majority of Senate Bill 1 will go into effect. So what are we talking about? Well, first of all, we did have some one-time funds this year. We had a really good year for a couple of different reasons. Good economy. There was the federal tax plan that went into effect that allowed Colorado to actually collect more and keep more revenues. We've not hit our Tabor cap. And then with the reauthorization, with the hospital provider fee no longer being designated as tax revenue, it's being considered a fee now. We created some space within our budget in order to keep some of those revenues that we've been collecting without having to return them back to the taxpayer because we've not hit our Tabor cap. So as a result, we had about almost $1 billion of extra money at the state. And we decided that we were going to put $500 million of that towards transportation this year. And then next year, we're going to put $150 million towards transportation. And then if nothing were to pass by the voters this fall, then we would move forward with bonding transportation projects up to approximately $2.3 billion. Again, $9 billion worth of need, which is why this is considered the backup plan. It cleared a path forward so that we would not have competing ballot measures this year. Because Senate Bill 1, as it was originally crafted, was to go to the ballot this year to ask the voters to please take on debt in order to bond for transportation. We would prefer, instead of taking on debt and bonding for transportation, to actually fund transportation, and we can't do that without a new sustainable revenue source. So, clearing the path, making sure that we do not have competing ballot measures, having a good backup plan in our back pocket, depending on what were to happen this fall. Also showing the voters that when you have extra cash, when you're able to prioritize those one-time funds by putting it into transportation, because we've had a huge backlog of projects, and then trying to work as a partner with our business community in order to find a longer-term sustainable path forward for transportation. So I will stop there. That's basically Senate Bill 1 in a nutshell. I want to thank Representative Winter, who really took the lead in the House by taking what was a really bad bill that we made a little bit better in the Senate, and then handed it over to the House so that they could work on it a little bit more and get us further down the path of coming up with a more comprehensive multimodal vision, and then actually sharing some of that money with our local communities, which we think is very important. So thank you for having me today. Senate Bill 1 has a lot of details, and I'm happy to talk about those details offline anytime, because it really truly is my favorite subject. And thank you for being here and for your interest in transportation.
Excellent. Good morning. My name is Faith Winter. I'm the state representative from 35, and as you've heard, one of the sponsors of Senate Bill 1 that we were able to get done this year. And we were really excited in order to do that. So I came and I spoke with you all in January, and I spoke alongside Senator Cook, and we had very differing views at that meeting, right? I came before you and said, we need a comprehensive solution. There's going to be no silver bullet solution to fixing our problems. And yes, part of the solution is bonding, which Senate Bill 1 does. Part of the solution is a general fund commitment, which Senate Bill 1 does. But we also have to have the conversation with the voters about what they want to do. And we need to have multimodal in there, we need to have transit, we need to include bikes, we need to include conversations about technology and autonomous vehicles. And we started this session pretty partisan on these issues and stuck in gridlock. It was either all general fund and bonding commitment or nothing. And so we went to the building and worked and talked and listened and brought our team members with us. And so I want to thank everyone in this room that was part of those conversations, because it wasn't just the legislators that got this across the finish line. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Senator Zenzinger and I were two of the leaders in this conversation, because we both come from local government, right? We understand when we say you don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican to build a pothole, as many of you in this room do, we actually have done that work at the local level, and we were able to get that work done. And so for us in the House, we had a couple basic values that we had to see in Senate Bill 1 in order to ensure that it could get passed. And the first is that we really value multimodal and transit options. And I think this corridor is a prime example of why that matters. And when you have good transit options, it helps reduce traffic, it gives people more choices, it ensures that we're more mobile, it helps our economy. And so we worked really hard to keep multimodal options in there, both in the one-time funding and in the ongoing funding. We also understood that our locals often make the best decisions for reducing congestion. And this coalition is a prime example of that. And so we wanted to make sure that our local governments got some of the money, especially in the one-time funding. And so we held on to a significant chunk of that money. Of the $695 million is going to go directly to local governments for you all to figure out how to use the best way possible to reduce congestion. The other big value we had in the House was ensuring we had a solution that didn't put education in harm's way in the future. And so we had to create the budget stabilization factor in 2009, and we've seen what happened to our schools when we did that, and what underfunding our schools did. We were paying trans bonds when we created the budget stabilization factor. So we wanted to make sure that we were committing general fund money at a level that was responsible, that said, yes, we value transportation, but we also value education. And so we came to that level, which is a $50 million a year ongoing commitment. And so Senate Bill 1 is a drop in the bucket when you look at our whole overall transportation needs. But for us in the House, it's really important to be able to go to the voters and say, we've done what we can with the resources we have. Yes, to the voters, we had a good year, we spent a lot of money on transportation. Yes, we are committing ongoing money from the general fund for transportation. We've done what we can, and now voters, it's your turn to have that conversation. You're going to hear from the campaign. I am optimistic from talking to voters at the door that this is the year that they are ready to have that conversation about what type of transportation do we want to have in the state? What are they willing to commit? And you're going to see those values of multimodal and local shares carried through to the campaign, and we started that in Senate Bill 1. So it's a big step forward. We're very excited about it. And we know transportation isn't the only thing, so we did some other small things on transportation this year as well. We passed a law about bikes and when you need to stop and not stop, which seems like a small, silly bill, but to our biking community, it was really important to them in explaining how bike commuting works, how to make it safer, how to make it more consistent with other states. So we're working with our bike community to make that better. And then I know there's a lot of people in here from RTD, and I want to thank everyone from RTD for having conversations this year around fares and accessibility and low-income fares. And those conversations were hard, but I think we started to bridge a gap between RTD and some of the activist community and have solutions, and I'm really impressed with the work RTD has been doing around low-income fares, and I want to thank them for their dedication and coming to the table and having those conversations. And I'm very appreciative because part of Transportation Solutions is making sure that it's working for everyone. So thank you very much to RTD for all the work that they've been doing on that. And with that, I will be around to ask lots of questions about Senate Bill 1, and I look forward to seeing you all this fall to work on more funding for transportation.